Hi, Alana. Good afternoon for all those who are in New York. Baruch Hashem, it's a very awesome day of Yud Shvat. It's um, a bittersweet year in a way. Bittersweet day. Where on one hand, it's it's a day of passing of the Rebbe Rayat. And on the other hand, on Yud Aleph Shvat, that's where the Rebbe accepts his Nesius and really allows us to enter into this exceptionally beautiful era of Mashiach, Yemaisa Mashiach. And we see this amazing, amazing miracles and amazing energy that's being unfolded specifically during these years of Nesius. And Baruch Hashem, this year we are marking 76 years of the Rebbe's Nesius. It's 75 years of the Yud Shvat, and it's 76 years since the Rebbe received the leadership from Yud Aleph, Tafshin Yud Aleph. And these are awesome days and awesome days of his kashrus. This is where we really connect. And in a way, Yud and Yud Aleph Shvat, where the transition between the sixth generation and the seventh generation happens. And as it says in the Maimer of Basiligani, Kol Shvim Chabibin, that all seventh are the beloved ones. And that's just the way it is. That it all works out in this awesome way. Anyhow, we're going to begin and we're going to continue. There are little small announcements that I would want to make regarding this class is that this class will be moved to Tuesdays. I mean, I hope it's not going to ruin everybody's schedule, but it's moving from Wednesday 12:30 to Tuesday 12:30. And it's going to be the same time, 12:30. And I hope you guys are going to make it. And it's going to be the same. It's going to be recorded and distributed, but we're just going to have this, small change in a day when this class will be held. Now, I'm going to share my screen. If there are no questions, we could just move on. Now, before I do that, I would want to go through like a little summary as to what we have learned. Baruch Hashem, so far we have learned 3 levels. And last time, the paragraph that we learned really described the third higher level of Avodah, where a full effect of the person's hisbonenus leads to immediate and tangible emotional arousal in his heart. And that's a beautiful thing. Like there's no just intellectual or bichlal nothing. This is already where we see a reciprocity in a way, where the person does his hisbonenus, and based on that hisbonenus, he receives a tangible and emotional arousal in his heart, stronger and more bepnimis than the intellectual inspiration alone that we discussed in a previous paragraph. Okay, now, however, this is not yet a full revelation of his godly soul. Okay, one person on this level might think like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I'm already having the experience of the revelation of my godly soul, but it's not. So what is it? What is it so amazing and inspiring in this level that keeps the person alive? So what is that emotion that a person actually feels in the heart? But it's actually an animal soul that dwells in the left side of the heart, right? Is being refined and drawn after the intellect. And that's what's beautiful about it. Now, it's illuminated by the Chabad of the godly soul. Now, this level is really, really beautiful, right? And that's what allows us really enter into this avodah shebalev that is written, right? And that's usually part a person's neshama on the level of bria already. Okay, the bria, that's the level of the machshava. Okay, meaning the person's machshava becomes deep enough to penetrate the heart. And those of you who come to our Shar Yichud class know that that transition that happens, that dependency on omek versus orach, right? The length, the deeper something penetrates within us, that usually shows that it's coming from a deeper source. And that's how there is this this balance. Okay, this is in short. Okay, what we have learned up until now. Now we will go to our Kuntres, and we're gonna move to paragraph 5. And what do you think gonna wait there? We're gonna learn about the 4th level. Okay, and Bezrat Hashem, after we learn all 5 levels, when we're gonna do the repetition, we're gonna move on and okay. Beautiful. So here the screen is shared and we're going to do the annotation. Okay. Paragraph 4, this is what we did. Paragraph 3, paragraph 4. We're going to do paragraph 5 now. Okay. Now, and paragraph 5 actually talks about level 4. So not to confuse. Here we go. Yeah, paragraph 5. And we're going to begin. Okay, any questions so far? You ready to go? Okay, let's go. והמדרג הדלת הוא למעלה מזה, והוא בחינוס הכוונה שבלב, שלמעלה מהספייבוס shebalev. Interesting. The 4th level is higher than the previous level. And it is the aspect of kavanah. Kavanah means an inner intention in the heart, which is above emotional arousal in the heart itself. Okay, so, wow, we are not talking about the intellectual arousal, the level number 3, right? That it was intellectual arousal, that it was so shallow, it was able to influence the person only on the level of actual deeds. We're not talking about that one. A lot of times people confuse it. We are talking about the aspect of kavanah of the inner intention. Okay? ויובן על פי המבואר במאמר, בעניין samach desamach, binyan al ken ya'azov ish chulei, right? And this can be understood based on what is explained elsewhere regarding rejoice exceedingly. There's this mimer, and regarding the verse, and therefore the man shall leave. Okay, so now we all know that there's a verse in Bereshis, right, that talks about a man shall leave his father and mother and marry his wife, and they become one flesh. Everybody knows that, right? So there's a lot of psychological explanations about that, and and so on and so forth, right? Now, what does it has to be? What does this mean? Okay, that it is necessary that there be a withdrawal and departure of the intellect at the time of the emotions are born and revealed form. This means, who is mother and father? Okay, mother and father is a chokhmah and bina. Okay, now, obviously we also have physical mothers and fathers, but we're looking at this pasuk at a little bit deeper. What do you mean a man should leave his mother and father, right? And create a bond with his own wife. Metaphorically, this means is that person leaves his chachma and bina, meaning his intellectual understanding and pursuit, meaning his boinanus, because what koiches hanefesh a person invests when a person does his boinanus is chabad, right? So he needs to leave that aside for a moment and focus on bringing the middos, bringing in the emotional attributes. Okay, that's already the relationship with the wife, so called, right? And then they're going to bear children, and these children are the middos, okay, that are being reflected in his heart. Okay, now with that, what's going to happen? Umahu shemikatzer arichus hasaga memaleh sovev v'kula k'miya kalei, right? And this is expressed as the shortening of this extended contemplation of memaleh and sovev, because we're talking about his boinanus in godliness. Again, this is Kari Yichud class. As all before him as nothing. Only the distilled essence of what of that comprehension remains. Okay, so it's interesting that that's what happens. Meaning, the person is no longer contemplating; he is basically doing something which is called bachein, right? He is contracting what he understands into a packaged full concept, and uses this to draw down an emotion. Okay? Now, that means the verified certainty that he is indeed so, that he feels all existence, right? That's basically this whole concept that he was thinking about it and contemplating about it, and so on and so forth. He contracts into a bottom line. Okay? From this, heart becomes aroused in a revealed way. It's like, whoa, this is amazing. This is an amazing concept, an amazing understanding, right? But at the same time, it's called moach de katnut, right? And moach de inika. What does this mean? It becomes moach de katnut is constricted mind, right? Is a mochin that became small. It's already packaged. It's already finite. Okay. And once that happens, what happens? This means that the intellect has become reduced and shortened, right? Because in order to come up with a formula, you need to shorten, cut, until you're left with one or two sentences, okay? And the revealed light of the intellect is concealed, right? Because in order to do that, you need to conceal the initial light that got you into his boinanus to begin with. That all what is left is a distilled essence. And now this distilled essence becomes the intellectual force, right? That encloses itself within the emotion of the heart and enlarges them. Okay, so now, you see, what do we see here, right? That there is a person that he needs to cut off the intellectual processes and wants to focus only on reducing the intellect, what he already understood, okay, and shorten it, and that becomes the essence of intellectual force, and that's from what the middos are going to be born. Okay, well, how is it? Like it becomes like an infant who grows through nursing from its mother's milk. So now this becomes like formula, like this distilled essence. And now, drop by drop, okay, the infant is gonna drink it, and the love and fear are gonna grow bigger in his heart. Right? You understand the metaphor? Okay. And at that point, the emotions of the heart emerge in a felt and a highly revealed manner. ומשלבשם בדיבור להיוס הדבר דברים היוצאים מן הלב. And then this love and fear, right, becomes what? They become invested in speech, such that one speaks words that come out from the heart. Okay? וזהו vedavak be'ishtoi. And this means, and he shall cleave to his wife, right? Because once he's separated from his mother and father, what should he do? Would be alone? No, he should cleave for his wife. שהוא בחינת הדיבור הנקרא ishah, כידוע. Right? Why is it called a wife? Because this refers to speech. Okay, the wife refers to speech as it known. However, it is explained in this idea, rejoice exceedingly. And all this occurs when the contemplation is not at the depth of comprehension. You understand? So for him, that he needs to contract his intellect in order to give birth for emotions. That's only on the third level. That's only when he does not need to, when he doesn't have the capacity to deeply comprehend. Why is it? That is when one brings the godly matter close to his intellect. He's not yet at the level of really doing a iyun. It's a first level of iyun. Why? That's when he brings it through metaphors and explanations that he heard from his teacher. He has grasped only the external layer of the intellect. And automatically, when he goes only on an external level of this comprehension, okay, as a result, the delight present in that comprehension is concealed and hidden. And it can be revealed only in a shortened and distilled form, which is called b'chein. Okay? So the fact that he does it, the fact that he has to stop his relationship with the mother and father, which is chokhmah and bina, it's actually a disadvantage because he's choosing a model either or. Okay? Like in life, a man chooses, between my parents or between my wife. That's a very limited way of thinking. It's like, no, it's not either or. You could have and. Okay? And moreover, not only that you could have and, but the healthier your relationship with your parents, the healthier will be in exact proportion your relationship with your wife. It's not only it's either or, and not even and, but one depends on the other. Okay? So let's look at that level. That's where it becomes an entry point into the level number 4. Because up until now, we're still discussing level number 3. In level number 3, it's either or. Either I have my intellect shining in my brain, or I can have an emotion. But that, he says, it's only when it's on an external level. Once he becomes even deeper into these bananos, something phenomenal happens. And what is it? This is not so when one is aroused by the essential nature of divine wisdom itself. Bina, when he reaches to the level of bina, lahavin davar mitach davar, to understand one matter from another, v'la'amoid al chachmas rabbi, and grasping the depth of his teacher's wisdom. Then the depth of comprehension shines within him. Shenikra pnimis bina. But it's called the inwardness of bina. Okay. Hakoilel kol ha'arichos behesverim u'mashalim. This inwardness includes all the extended explanations and metaphors his teacher is giving him. Ad shekol ha'esverim ba'mashalim betelim ba'omek hasaga kabitul mane b'matayim. All the explanations and metaphors become nullified within the depth of this comprehension, like one part nullified within 200. Okay? V'zeu b'chinas haben b'chochma. Ima v'aba Eloi. And this level is called understanding in wisdom. I don't know why it's called understanding. Okay, understanding in wisdom. Okay, and corresponding to the supernal Abba and Ima. Okay, that's the fourth level. And he goes back into the third level. On the contrary, okay, by the contrast, the external aspect of comprehension is called the wise in understanding, associated with Yisodos. Now it's associated with Yisrael Saba and Tvuna. These are, the meaning of this Rashi Tevis means, right? Yisrael Saba and Tvuna. Okay. Okay, that's already the lower level of comprehension. And at that point, the light in the comprehension itself is revealed. Okay, so what we're talking about, okay, this level of okay, so the fourth level, that's when he reaches the oneg. So what do you mean? Once a person reaches oneg, the love and fear flow automatically. He no longer needs to do anything to have a love and fear. Okay, and this is something really beautiful. And many people take it for granted because they think that they need to do something in order to have love and fear. Love and fear are very natural resources that we have. Okay, so love and fear flow from our perception. So how is that the perception is built? The perception is built through his boinanos. Okay, when we expand our cognition, when we go deeper into the contemplating into Hashem, the oneg and asaga, the oneg we touch, okay, the chachma, and as soon we will see the level number 4 corresponds to the world of Atzilus, that corresponds to the chachma of Anashama, and the chachma will trigger oneg. Okay, but as midgala etzlo ha'oneg b'hasaga zeh, and at that point the light and the comprehension itself is revealed. V'lachein tekev be'es tirdasei ba'omek hamusag nolag etzlo Hahispaalus, and therefore immediately, while he's immersed in the depth of the concept, emotional arousal is born within him. You see, he doesn't need to cut that off. On the contrary, while he's immersed in the understanding, he gets the Hahispaalus. You see, by the level number 3, he has to kind of, okay, I'm sorry, I'm stopping here. I'm throwing the b'chein, okay? So I can nurture my love and fear, okay? But that's actually only when you have a very shallow understanding. Then you must do that. So the Mitteler is saying, no, forget about that. Why would you want to do that? That's like a lot of things to do. Go deep into his boinanos, okay? The depth itself will bring you the Hahispaalus. Because that's the mechanics. That's a soul mechanics. Okay, that's how it works. It's like, you turn on the faucet, the water will come out. That's all. You don't need to do anything. The structure is already there. You just need to know what to trigger. And here, the trigger itself is the depth of the concept. That's all. Immediately, while he's immersed in the depth of the concept, emotional arousal is born within him. Okay, and not only how is it? It's not just going to be a shallow, like, oh, whatever. No, but b'chinas rasvi eish v'shalheves. This arousal takes the form of the fiery sparks and flame. That means it's something like, a real thing. Okay, ra shebetelu b'klula b'hasaga hamakifa. Right, yet it is completely nullified and included within the encompassing comprehension. Okay, that means it's still attached to it. It's not something that he needs to separate, like the man who separates himself from the mother and father so he can marry his wife. No, that's on the lower level. That's on the level 3. On the level 4, that's on the level of Bria. On the level of Atzilus, is a totally different ballgame. Okay, on the level of Atzilus is exactly the opposite. The more he connects himself to the depth of his Abba V'Ima, his Chochmah and Bina, the more he'll have the Hahispaalus. Not that he needs to separate. He doesn't need to separate. Okay, and Venikra Bakina Zais shall have it Yud K. This level is called the flame of Yud K. Venikra the Chilu B'Rechim Sichlim, and it's called intellectual love and fear. Why it's called intellectual love and fear? Not because they get stuck in the intellect. It's another misconception that people draw about, the intellectual. No, it's just that it's being fueled by the intellect all the time. Okay, but because they are being fueled from the intellect all the time, from the depth of the intellect, okay, that's beyond the intellect already. Okay, they're able to reach on the lower level in the heart as well. Okay, soon we'll see. So they are not separate from the contemplation itself. On the contrary, they strengthen it. So the more person feels the oneg, the more deeper he wants to go. And the deeper he goes, the more Hahispaalus is going to have. It's fun way. We don't need to do anything. It's like becomes like this cycle. Okay. And that cycle becomes automatic. A person doesn't need to think about his Hahispaalus. That's it. He's over that stage. He doesn't need to think about his Hahispaalus. That becomes automatic. The deeper he goes, the more Hahispaalus he has. The more Hahispaalus he has, the deeper that pushes him to go, because he has strength, he has vitality, he has love, he has fear. Okay, so he doesn't have to feel motivated. It's already there. Okay? He doesn't need to be motivated. Okay, as it says that the voice arouses the intention. What is the voice? The voice is the aspect of Hahispaalus, right? We just said the words are Hahispaalus, coming from the heart. Okay, so the words arouse the intention, the kavanah. Okay, that's why actually it's a halacha. During Aseret Yemei Tshuva, people should be davening a little bit with a higher voices, meaning they should hear themselves, because that awakens the kavanah. That's exactly what we're talking about. And therefore, no falling from this level, and no exertion is required. Why is it? Because we're talking about on the level of Atzilus. On the level of Atzilus, Klippas have absolutely no shlita. Okay, so there's no I feel stuck. Some days I'm like this, the other days like that. There's uncertainty. Everything below Atzilus, there's always uncertainty. Why? Because that clip is there. Okay, but here the fire is so hot. Nobody can touch this. It's holy. That's why the world of Atzilus is a holy world. Okay. Elokim, Elokim al demila chulu. Okay, Lama'an is a chulu. And this is written, "Oh God, do not be silent, so that my soul may sing to you." Okay. And this level shines in one who possesses the soul of Atzilus. Okay, because his arousal comes from the vision and contemplation of the glory of King, from the vision, okay, not from understanding, not from hearing, okay, and understanding, because if you remember, the third level was the level of hearing, Shema, okay, but here it's already not. Here it's already Histaklus. Okay, and Histaklus, as we know from Shariachot class, corresponds to the vision, corresponds to the world of Atzilus. And that actually activates, okay, Aliyah's Torah mitzvahs l'sharsham. Okay, kmo shehem b'bchinas Atzilus mamush hanikra shem ivarim demalka. And this reflects, okay, the elevation of the Torah mitzvahs to the root, as explained regarding Atzilus itself. They are Torah mitzvahs are called the limbs of the king. So they literally come going back to the source, not only to Gan Eden Elyon, Tachton, Gan Eden Elyon, and so on and so forth, as we discussed in the level number 2 and the level number 3, but here they actually go to the source. Okay. Okay, that we spoke. Okay. Okay, Adam shebalev, right? So now the limbs of the king corresponds to the mitzvahs, okay, and the Torah are the inner limbs, okay, or blood within the limbs, or the inner light and vitality flowing through the channels of sensation, as explained elsewhere. Okay, b'chinas zois the neshamis elu yimshachis mibchinas hamalchus that kasher mekabel b'chinas parts of pnimi the Chabad of the zon. Right? And soul's level are drawn from Malchus when it receives from the inner configurations of Chabad of Zeranti. Okay, so since they are coming from inner, okay, configurations, inner partsufim of Zeranti, therefore they're triggering the inner dimensions of Bina and Chacham. Benigna parts of HaMochin, right? And this is called the configuration of the Mochin. And interestingly, this level is called Yonasi, my dove. Okay, remember we had Achasi, Rayasi, and then Yonasi, right? Is my sister, my beloved one, and now is my dove. Okay, V'day Lamavin. And what is this so interesting about this level of dove? Why is it dove? Okay, what dove has to do with it? Why dove is higher than beloved? Because the love of doves is very interesting. The love of doves has to do with the eyes. They derive pleasure by just looking at each other. Okay, the doves, they look at each other, the husband and wife, they look at each other, and they derive pleasure that just by looking at each other. Okay, that's why it's brought down in a lot of writings that the love, like doves, first of all, is definitely much more intense, and it's also there are those aspects of loyalty to each other, and specifically about them deriving the pleasure, through looking, and over here with the neshama, again, let's not forget. We are still talking about the 5 levels of the Nefesh Bahamis. This level of the Nefesh Bahamis that we are talking about is a very, very high level. And this is something, not to be taken for granted, because this is the level where that is becoming a little bit of a merging between the perception of the Nefesh Bahamis with the perception of the Nefesh Elokis here, okay? Because later on we're going to see it. It's like it's when Nefesh Bahamis leaves her very, very limited perceptions far behind, okay? Because we are literally talking about on the level of Atzilus. That's like, wow. And the beauty of it, that the person does not the person does not Um, this does not fall from this level. Yeah. So, pretty much this is what the text is, and it is very, very beautiful, very, very beautiful piece. So, yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any questions, and if not, we'll be done.